Are you someone who thinks that climate change is a hoax? Well, you've got good reason for believing that. We've got 18 good reasons, actually, for believing that, and here they are in no particular order. Number 1, climate scientists have admitted that they were wrong. According to a UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC for short, according to an IPCC report released back in 2013, climate scientists admitted that their prophecies about global temperature changes were wrong.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
They admitted that the world temperatures were increasing at only a quarter. That's 25% of the rate that they had predicted just 6 years before in 2007.
That was a mistake.
Number 2. Predictive climate models have been erroneous. Decades ago, scientists started using predictive models to forecast how much the planet's temperature would increase over the years. Those are the models that they relied upon to justify their concern about global warming / climate change.
It was justified.
However, those models have been erroneous. Former NASA scientist Dr. Roy Spencer found that more than 95% of the climate models are inaccurate. Dr. John Christie, professor of atmospheric science and director of the Earth Systems Science Center at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, found that 73 of the models cited in the aforementioned 2013 IPCC report are in error.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
And here, for your viewing pleasure, are a couple of graphs that show you exactly how the predictive models forecasted higher temperatures than reality. Point number 3. Antarctic sea ice is actually expanding. Antarctic ice flows extended even further than recorded this past southern winter. And that has confounded the world's most trusted climate models. There go the models being inaccurate again. According to Professor John Turner, it's, quote, not expected. He's a climate expert at the British Antarctic Survey. He says that the world's best 50 models were run, and 95% of them have Antarctic sea ice decreasing over the past 30 years. Point number 4. Arctic sea ice defied Al Gore's prediction. Way back in 2007, environmental hypocrite Al Gore predicted that by 2014 the polar ice cap could be gone. Not only did that turn out to be false, but the polar ice cap expanded in subsequent years. Point number 5, the predictions thus far haven't come true. Sometimes global warming alarmists have the guts to actually put a date on their doomsday predictions. And when those dates have passed, we are happy to report that they haven't panned out. Way back in 1922, the Associated Press reported that the Arctic Ocean was warming up and icebergs were growing scarcer. It also said that within a few years it is predicted that due to the ice melt, the sea will rise and make most coastal cities uninhabitable. Happy to report that more than 90 years later, those cities are quite habitable. Point number 6. Climate science is relatively new. Compared to other branches of science, physics, astronomy, climate science is relatively young. You'll forgive us, therefore, if we think that the jury is still out. Point number 7. Climate science is cross-disciplinary. Climate science is not only relatively new, but it also spans multiple scientific disciplines, including physics, meteorology, chemistry, and mathematics. Whenever we're evaluating a body of science that is cross-disciplinary, it's a good idea to be cautious before accepting the conclusions put forth by its specialists. Point number 8. Temperature records aren't that old. Temperature records are only about 160 years old. Point number 9. No evidence that 97% of scientists agree on global warming. You've probably heard the statistic. uttered by MSNBC hosts and late-night comedians alike, that 97% of scientists agree that global warming is real and it's man-made. However, the evidence for that statistic is less than compelling.
Uh-oh.
The most famous paper to make that claim was a 2013 study produced by a dude named John Cook. However, that was quickly debunked. Turns out that just 0.3% of the papers he examined endorsed his definition of consensus. Point number 10. No correlation between CO2 emissions and temperature. People who believe in man-made global warming say that humans are causing climate change with carbon emissions, such as exhaust from a combustible engine. However, there does not seem to be a historic parallel between carbon emissions and the temperature of the planet. Look at the chart in front of you right now. This is from Friends of Science. The blue line represents temperature, the green line represents carbon emissions. Point number 11. If anything, CO2 levels are a lagging indicator. Scientific evidence from examination of ice cores shows that increases in CO2 levels follow, not precede, but follow increases in temperature rather than precede them. Point number 12. Not much has happened for the last 18 years. As of this recording, we are in a global warming pause. Look at the chart in front of you. No global warming for 18 years, 4 months. Point number 13. Climate science is politically charged. A good reason to question anything is if there's a possible political motivation to the claim being made. In the case of climate science, the answer is absolutely. Point number 14. ClimateGate revealed some shenanigans. If you're unfamiliar with the ClimateGate scandal, let's going back to 2009. A server at the Climate Research Unit at the University of East Anglia was hacked, and documents written by climate change scientists were obtained. One of the more infamous documents stolen from that effort showed that Phil Jones, a scientist, confessed to using, quote, Mike's nature trick to, quote, hide the decline in temperatures obtained from tree ring analyses. In other words, he wanted to conceal the inconvenient truth that temperatures were dropping when they should have been increasing to support the global warming narrative. Point number 15. They've been fiddling with historical temperatures. Just earlier this year, we learned that global warming alarmists have been manipulating historical data to make the case that global warming is happening. A blogger named Paul Homewood examined temperature data in a part of South America where the temperature is allegedly rising at a rapid rate. What did he find? We're being hoodwinked.
Look, stop the BS here. Stop the crap.
The original data that he examined showed not a rise but a decline in temperature, contrary to the conclusions of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Study, or GISS for short. Point number 16. Global warming proponents don't act like they're on the side of reality. People who are losing like to censor opposing viewpoints, not people who are winning. If you're winning a debate, you welcome an opposing viewpoint so you can knock it down. But why is the Los Angeles Times refusing to publish letters from people who deny man-made climate change? Why is High Priest of the cult of climate change, Michael Mann, suing conservative author Mark Stein for hurting his feelings in a blog post about climate change? Point number 17. Why the rebranding? Global warming went through a rebranding process. Did you notice that? It's now called climate change. Now, why is that? Is it because every time Al Gore showed up to speak somewhere and it got snowed out, it was a headline in the Drudge Report? Listen, science doesn't do rebranding. Point number 18. Historically, doomsday scenarios haven't panned out.